Hi, Brie.
Hello, Ula.
Is yoga teacher training worth it?
Well, my first answer was it depends.
Yeah. Okay.
I
I
know, not
will
helpful.
make it more clear for you. How about that?
Okay.
So let's say someone's not planning to teach. Okay. So they're like, yoga teacher curious. Okay. We'll call them yoga teacher curious. For someone who's not planning to teach, how do you make the case that teacher training is still worth it for them? I was that example. So I can say that clearly. Like I didn't plan to teach. And so I had to kind of figure out, was teacher training worth it for someone not planning to teach?
Well, how did you make your decision in the end?
It was my birthday, so I gifted myself. So I'm not the right example, but okay, I will answer that with I had been practicing for quite some time and I do really well in courses. Like I do really well with structure and I felt like there's only so much I could learn about the practice and myself going to class regularly. I was a very like Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. kind of person. And I would walk out of the class and I would have experiences in the class or questions that I just couldn't follow up on or couldn't ask the teacher in the moment. And so I started thinking, oh, it'd be like really good to learn more. And so I started taking workshops. And then when I started taking the workshops, I thought, oh, I really like this format of concentrated time with someone who's more experienced and then having questions answered. So that it was kind of like a, yeah, class to workshop to eventually being like justifying, and justifying sounds bad, but like maybe permission is the right word. I gave myself permission to pursue a curiosity, I guess. And the permission I had to give was like, it's okay to invest in myself. And that was my the final straw was my birthday. I was like, yeah, I'm going to gift myself this thing that I've been thinking about for years.
I love that. It makes me think it's the yoga teacher pipeline from class to workshop to student or to teacher training, the yoga nerd pipeline. And I think there's definitely a lot of people in my experience with my teacher trainings over the years that quite often we have people who take it who don't intend to teach. And also funny that by the end, they're often virtually every one of them is like, I didn't intend to teach, but now I think I want to. So also that's funny and might happen. Warning if you're one of those people who are like, I just want this for me. You might never want to teach, but you might end up wanting to because there's something I think magical that happens. Because if you're nerdy enough to want to spend time and money to continue to learn this practice, I love that there's a human nature and desire to share. Right. So it's like not just keeping the benefits of yoga to ourselves, but to like do this training and to do this extra learning to share to help other people feel really good. So I think that is really exciting. But I think one of the things too is that doing it for yourself, because this isn't, yoga is not just I'm teaching a yoga class, right? Yoga teacher training, and quite often in our trainings, people say it's like, oh, I signed up. I thought I was going to do this teacher training, and this ended up being like a human being training. And I'm like, well, yeah, because that's yoga. Like, welcome to yoga. It was designed all these thousands of years ago from India of this practice of self awareness. So you can't get away from the self awareness. And doing a yoga teacher training is amplifying that self awareness on a whole new level, whether or not you feel like you want to share that with people in a formalized way, i.e., teaching yoga classes. So, first and foremost, I think there's a real dedication and empowerment when we say yes to ourselves in that way. When we feel that desire in our heart and our body to be like, I'm curious, what would it be like if I did a yoga teacher training? I think listen to that. That's because not everybody's going to think that. Not everybody who goes to yoga classes is like, I want to teach or do a training at all. But if you're somebody who has that thought in the back of your head, in my opinion, listen to that. I think that yes is a big sense of information of like, well, maybe I'm ready to say yes to an experience that's going to enhance my self awareness, where I get to learn more. I get to connect with other people in community. It's a really powerful experience.
Hmm. Yeah, I felt like once I was in the training and I got to meet the variety of people and step into the community, that's when my eyes started being open to like, wow, there's this other side of it. I didn't even know the depth of it. So I love that. And because teacher, like being a teacher, being a yoga teacher can be a job and a career, I think it's like really easy for people to assume that if you take training, it's because you plan to teach and make it a career and make money. And there are so many things that you can get outside of that from teacher training. Are there things that you could personally speak to from maybe some of your earlier trainings that were a positive in your life that had nothing to do with income?
Ultimately, it was that sense of self and saying yes to learning something new. Being a student is so powerful. Again, in any scenario, in any type of learning that we do, whether you're a student of painting, a student of gardening, like whatever it could be, when we're learning something new, it's really good for the brain, just straight up. It's just great for our neuroplasticity. It's great for being just open to change and open to new things and allowing that to change us. And so then that's augmented when it's yoga, which is all about change, growth, evolution, self-awareness. So there's these really big picture intangibles that I've seen over the years. Every workshop I've ever done, like attended as a student, any other like courses and trainings, they've always been really good. I don't think I've ever regretted one, even if it was one that I didn't think in the end that I liked, because that in of itself is learning.
It's funny because like even though I'm not actively teaching, I feel like lessons I learned about myself in my teacher training are permeated throughout my life. And I just signed up for a pottery course, and I was telling someone about, I grew up painting and now I'm doing pottery, and they're like, "Oh, why do you like it?" And I said, "Oh, it's very meditative." And I've discovered that there's something like it taps into the side of me that I really um haven't like it's beautiful because it's a different experience. But when I think about it now, I'm like, oh, would I have described it, or would I have been looking for this, or would I have like I'm almost like dipping into this stuff that I took away from teacher training and multiple trainings, and now I get to see how it permeates the rest of my life, and I connect with it in a different way. Like someone could just say, "Oh, I like taking art classes because I feel creative," and I'm like, "Sure." And also, like, there's this depth in it, and I feel like, yeah, there's so much that I to this day still consider, and like I basically like opened the door to thinking about life differently. So there's so much. Now there's like obviously the elephant in the room, which is money. And I myself was also very scared to invest in myself. And I'm glad that we're also talking about workshops and maybe not full-blown teacher trainings if someone's just like a little bit concerned. There's so many things out there that don't require you to like jump 2 feet into training if you're not ready for that. But my question for you was, this feeling of parsing out, is this scary because it's too expensive? Investment money, really real, a very big fear in a lot of people's lives. And is this actually the wrong call for me right now? And I think that's a really valid thing, right, for a lot of people, because I don't think everyone needs to take training this year. And it's a good thing to evaluate.
Yeah. And again, that depends. It depends on everybody's financial situation. It depends on your time situation. It depends, like you're making me think, I know a lot of people do our trainings once they retire, because now they've retired and they're like, well, I don't want to just sit around anymore, or not anymore. I'm retired. I don't want to sit around. Why don't I do this teacher training and then have that be like a part-time sort of giving back to my community gig? So that's one context where, oh, then that investment starts to make more sense. I've just retired. I'm ready for a change, adding more. I'm going to learn something fun now that I don't have to do my regular job anymore. And so, of course, it's going to be relative, and teacher trainings are priced differently too. Big investment, but any amount of money is an investment because it's all going to be relative for each of our economic abilities and situations that we're in. So it's really kind of a deeper question underneath the question is, for some of us, that's going to be, you look at your budget and you're like, absolutely not. This is not feasible. I can't afford that. Okay, cool. Then there's maybe another layer where, does the teacher training offer payment plans? Like for us with Heart and Bones, we have payment plans, and then that makes it quite significantly more accessible because a lot of people won't have that money right all in one lump sum, or don't want to put that all on the credit card, etc. But then breaking up those payments over a certain amount of months can make it a little bit more feasible. Other times, maybe if you're in an economic situation where you, again, can't truly afford it, ask the teacher training if there's scholarships. Again, so for us, as always the example, we have partial scholarships, we have full scholarships. So different ways to make it accessible is important, and it's worth asking. So if you have a teacher training that you want to go to, it's worth asking about that. And then the next layer from that, okay, so maybe it's, yes, it's a stretch financially, but maybe I can make it happen. And then there's those voices in our head. It's like, well, who are you to do this? You're not allowed to spend this money on yourself. You don't deserve this, right? Like, so watch if it's some of those voices. And sometimes, and I used it in the third person, like you. I don't know, Ula, if you have that in your brain, and I sometimes have it in my brain. Sometimes I can discern if it's if there's a voice that's saying, you don't deserve this, you're not allowed, then I know that's not me. That's some whatever voice that I've inherited through my life or whatever, right? So when it's like, I really want to do this, when we come back to that first person, it's like, listen to that voice rather than this external sounding like, you should not do this, you blah, blah, blah. Because I think that's that conditioning we might have, and maybe that part of our brain that says, like, wants to keep you safe and small and not growing. Because also too, it's not a small thing. Going to workshop, easy peasy. You're there for a day, you're there for an afternoon, you can walk away, boom, bam, great. But yoga teacher training is hours, it's months, it's an investment of your energy. And
It's actually
well,
200
yeah,
hours.
yeah, literally, right, of course, literally. And so it's like, it's a lot. And I think there's this part of our brain that wants to keep us safe and small. So it's going to say, because we know when we go to do, when we say yes to something like this, we know on an unconscious level, intuitive level, that I'm going to grow and I'm going to change and I'm not ready. And growth and change is uncomfortable. And so that little voice is like, no, it's more comfortable to stay like this. And so sometimes I think we have to discern that voice. Who's saying this? And am I ready to take that leap of faith and go do a thing that's going to make me feel better? Not necessarily is always easy, but in the long term, is this going to be worth it? And generally, in my opinion, heck yeah, it is. Because again, if you do decide to teach, you're not just investing in yourself. So this helps with anybody. Yes, you're investing in yourself and you are allowed to. Here's my nice voice, external voice for you if you need it. You are allowed to invest in yourself. You are worth it. Because also what ends up happening if you start to teach is that then you're supporting other people. So if you have a voice that's saying, I'm selfish to do this, well, thank you, voice. But you can tell that voice, hey, I'm actually doing this so that I'm going to help people too. And then it's this exponential effect. So I don't know if that's an extra little layer, if that helps inspire anybody, that it's not just you that you're doing this for, you're doing this for the people in your community, family, etc.
Okay, so let's say someone does actually want to teach, though, because we've been talking a lot about people who don't want to teach or don't think they want to teach. um, for those that do plan to teach, kind of like getting back to the basics, um, knowing what's out there, how long do you think it's realistic to say that they'll be able to feel like they've paid off? You know, if that's the thing, if they're like, I need to know I can pay off my teacher training, is there like a timeline? Like, what would you tell them? Because that's their thing, right? Like, if I take teacher training, I will pay it off. How long do you think it takes to feel like you've done that?
It depends. Like, that's a very relative statement because we're all in different places too listening. So here in Canada, in my experience, if you're like going literal, like dollar for dollar, I've spent X amount of dollars on this training, so I need to pay off, which is real. Maybe you had to take out a loan or credit card, etc. So you're like, I need to reimburse this money back. Well, if we're going dollar for dollar, that's going to be very different. So again, I think in my experience in Canada, it's been always around that $50 mark per class, give or take. I'm throwing this number out. It might have changed. I haven't worked in a normal studio for a very long time anymore. So I don't know what that price is, but it used to be $50 per class. So I'm not good at quick math. So do the math, how many times per class times what you've spent. That could take a while. But then there's also that. So then what is paying off? Because maybe, and hopefully your teacher training also gives you a little bit of business modules in the training and talking about different ways to make money as a yoga teacher, which incidentally, haven't we had podcast episodes about that?
I was gonna say, I'm gonna interject. I'm gonna try to link those. We have definitely talked about like the financial side and the business side of teacher training and making income outside of the traditional yoga studio model, because I think like as someone goes into teacher training, their default may be thinking that the only place that they could make income is in the studio, and there's actually a plethora of places you can bring your experience to.
Yeah.
So
And that's even more lucrative. Yeah. And you're making me, I think I for sure did. Now I'm remembering on our Yoga Teacher Tips YouTube channel, I think I did an actual just straight up video of different, like bunch of different ways to make money out of that. But there can be, so if you feel comfortable doing a pre-registered class or you do a few workshops, etc., there's ways to make a little bit more of a bulk amount of money rather than that $50, $25, $35, whatever it is in your community per class. So being bold enough and trusting yourself enough to get out of that box and being more creative means that that monetary payoff could be sooner. But then, of course, what's the value? Then we're talking about the nebulous, abstract notion of value. When we're looking at, well, how long is it going to take me to pay something off? Again, yes, there's that literal, well, I literally have a credit card statement that needs to get paid off ASAP. And then on top of that, then, well, what was the value of it? Do I feel like a better person than I was at the beginning of this training? Do I feel like I've grown and evolved? Do I feel like I'm more confident in my body? So I think there's a bigger, I'm glad we're talking about this because there's an interesting bigger picture terms of repayment to talk about beyond just the dollar value. So there's just another little fun angle to think about with this investment.
I mean, money is such a tough one. It's like such a touchy subject for a lot of people. And what I want to be clear on is like whether you have it or don't have it, that's like it's almost besides the point. It's like what we're actually talking about is like the relationship to money. And money is a really good because it's such a strong fear for a lot of people. I'm thinking of the Artist's Way. I did it like a year ago. That's like a block for a lot of artists is money, and it's not something it and again, I want to be respectful. Money is real and we have to pay our bills, like we're not saying that, but it is something that becomes a deep-seated fear for a lot of people, and I know I'm that person too. Like I joke with my friend, the lean years, like a lot of people have had those. I was like straight out of university, you want to talk about investing in your education, deeply in debt, making like barely any money, trying to start a career. Like I've been there, and it ingrained in me this fear of not having money. So then that becomes a fear of investing in myself. And I think what you said earlier, Brie, was so great. Like if money is the biggest fear, sitting down and actually just being like, okay, is there a payment program? If I reach out, can I get a scholarship? Like examining it. And there's very practical times where it's like for sure it's financially not the right decision for you. So yeah, I think money is a really big fear for a lot of people, and we do take that very seriously. But I also think you mentioning all the support out there is valid. So
Yeah. Yeah. Like there might be a karma yoga exchange. So, right. So, not just even a scholarship, but maybe the studio that you want to do a teacher training with is like, okay, well, let me come in and assist the cleanup before and after the training each week or something. Like, so there is like also be creative in terms of how, don't just, yeah, like have that ability to be like, well, I can't afford this, but can we be creative and open minded and be like, well, maybe there's other ways in.
when I had done a big career change, I wanted to like stay practicing, but I was making like so little money. I went into a field where basically made minimum wage, and the only income I had was based off sales. And so I was like not making sales my first little bit because I was new. And I became a karmi at the local studio. And yeah, so I would be the front desk person, but that meant I got
Yeah.
to do as much yoga as I wanted. So that was great. And then I did it a second time with actually a boxing gym. I wanted to have unlimited classes and it was so expensive. So I offered, and this is the part where I'm like, get creative. I offered to get social media content for them. So I would go to class, I would take photos and post it for them. And that's how I covered all my training with them. And it was
These are
worth it.
great. Yeah, it's worth getting. Yeah, no, that's a good point, Ula. You're right. Because they're like, if somebody's not posting anything, it doesn't mean they're not open to it. And so you being a little bit more bold
Mhm.
and saying that, because that's true. That's how I got my first start in yoga. I was broke ass 20-year-old in Toronto and could not like afford any yoga. And then I became a karma yoga person and yeah, came in and cleaned. It was so nice because I like cleaned the studio and nobody was there and then got these unlimited classes that really impacted me quite a lot and set me on this trajectory too. So, there's that.
Yeah. Do address a lot of these topics in other episodes. So, even like the workshop method and all these things, there's a lot of information in our past episodes. I'm so happy that we got to go over this topic once again. I'll try my best to link the stuff below, and please drop in any comments or questions that you have for us.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
and
thanks, Brea. Yes,
Thanks,
and thank you, Brea.
Bye.
Bye.